Okay, we're live. Welcome to the Red Room. Our guests today are Nick and Matt uh, from the Black Lodge. Welcome, guys.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Happy
This
happy
had
to
to
be
happen
among
eventually.
among people with excellent taste in film and TV.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking we have a bit of inception here today. We
Yeah.
have a Black Lodge and we are playing Welcome to St. Cloud right now. So nice
Nice.
vibes.
And I think
I
Nick
think-
wanted to ask you about St. Cloud at some
Yeah,
point.
love Welcome to St. Cloud. First thing I picked up from you guys, I was I don't even remember where I heard about it, but it was described as a sort of a Twin Peaks-esque sort of that kind of vibe game resource. And I've heard that before, right? You hear oh, this would be a good inspiration or a good resource to put over XYZ setting or feel or franchise. So I wasn't actually expecting too much. I was sort of tentatively hopeful. And then because I didn't know anything about the product or about you guys, and I picked it up and I was really blown away by it. It's a short, exactly the length that I want and I need, and it gets right to the point of populating a kind of, I mean, you could set it anywhere, but this town on the edge of sort of a nameless unease or dread or horror, depending on how you want to populate it, like Twin Peaks or like Silent Hill, or that kind of vein. Really great stuff, really evocative in how you not only create different NPCs, which is primarily what it is. It's a resource and an inspirational resource to create small town NPCs that have either a greater or lesser connection to, I forget what term you use, but the nameless horror, the nameless dread, but more importantly, the connections with the other people in town, and that's tremendously useful, not only for a sort of a horror-esque game, but really for any game. So great stuff. Really knocked it out of the park there.
Thanks. That was something I wrote in about 20 years ago,
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
and we played it at the time. That's why it takes place in the early 2000s because it was exactly when I wrote it when we played it. Not Sylvia.
Nice.
Yes.
I didn't know her at the time.
I'm thinking how old I was at the time. Okay, let's not go there. Well, not that old. 20. Okay.
So let's start by name, but by the names of our channel. So, why did you name yours Black Lodge?
Well, Nick came to visit me, and we had been kicking around some ideas for role-playing games and whatnot, and starting a podcast and all this stuff. And we finally, we are huge fans of David Lynch. I had just watched all of Twin Peaks and Firewalk with Me that year, and just was blown away by it. And the Black Lodge season finale of season 2 of Twin Peaks is like one of the best things that's ever been put on TV.
Yeah.
And so when we were kind of just thinking about names for the company, we were kind of like, all right, let's just start throwing things out there. And Nick was like, Black Lodge Games. We both kind of laughed for a second and it got very quiet. And we're like, that's the name. I was like, that is the kind of
Yep.
bizarre horror and weirdness that we love. And there's a lot that can come out of it.
I think
Yeah,
it shows
really.
wisely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do too.
We chose Red Room, and we are constantly being confused
Yes.
with BDSM stuff.
Yeah, apparently because of 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah. Oh, you took your name from 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, there has to be some crossover there with like some of your products. I've seen one of it. Is it Wretched New Flesh, the one with they look like the Cenobites from Hellraiser?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There could be. Yeah, there could be some.
Maybe
something
that's
there.
because of that. Yeah, I think it maybe because
Perhaps,
of sexual
maybe,
holocaust
yeah,
is like,
sexual
oh, this is a
Yeah.
BDSM reference.
Yeah, It could be, but if it was a BDSM reference, I wouldn't pick it up from 50 Shades of Grey.
Right.
Yes, of course. But it's not our fault that people have no taste.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Very true.
Yeah, very true, and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
funny because it happened a couple of times. I said, no, the name is not from 50 Shades of Grey, it's from Twin Peaks. Oh, why are you being pedantic about it?
They're basically the same thing.
Actually, it was two things. It was the Red Room from Twin Peaks and
Yeah.
Red Room from Shining.
That's why, yeah, more than
yeah.
that.
That's
It's,
why you chose that one.
Yeah.
It could be used for two things. Actually,
Yeah.
before the channel, we had
before everything. Yeah.
before everything, we had a Facebook group.
In
It
the
wasn't
blog.
really about in the blog. It wasn't really about role playing games. It was more about movies and TV, and that's why. And it was called Red Room, and we used the name again because we already had there were some role players in the group, so it evolved from there. We still talk a lot about movies in our Facebook group because obviously Ratchet is very influenced by cinema, so
Yeah.
it makes sense. And all nerds like movies, so it's
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like the easiest common language for communicating all sorts of ideas. And yeah, I picked up Wretched Epoch, and I love this setting, and I can't wait to play in it.
You're talking about the second edition, right?
Second edition. Yeah, because I got the Wretched Core book a couple months back. I've been kind of waiting for this setting to come out because it sounded so interesting. But I knew the second edition was coming, so I waited.
Yeah, I think it's better. It's at least there's more consistency to it and more content as well, because the first one was kind of, I actually left it in the drawer for some time. I wasn't going. Now I feel a bit stupid because it was After Man. It was our second bestseller in this case. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I wasn't thinking about, well, this is really, I don't know if this is going to work, but yeah.
Yeah,
Eventually
he almost gave up. It stopped doing it. It was when we were still working for Grimm, right? We're still doing things for Postmortem. Then it was in the drawer and it was like, I'm tired of this game. I'm not gonna do it. It's boring.
No, it was supposed to be a setting for this. This is a generic game called Punk. It's from Postmortem, and it was supposed to be a setting, and it was supposed to be called Nouveau Punk from Art Nouveau. And because of that, it was kind of a nightmare to do it, because it was supposed to be to a game, but then Grimm started doing his own things, and I had to convert it. So I was fed up with it.
Yeah. I love all the art in that book as well. It's really, I'm assuming a lot of it must be public domain since it's,
most of it is, but half of it is public domain, yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's great though. It really like sets the tone and the mood of it, and we are all about having atmosphere and mood.
Yes.
It's really, really good.
One thing that we obviously agree in is that that's very important, and for us, the visual aspect of the books is a big deal. It's not just kind of
tremendously important, especially for a game, a vibe, a genre that, like you alluded to earlier, has that heavy cinematic inspiration. You want to convey an aesthetic. You want to convey sort of an emotionality, a tone to it, and art is the best way to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm using too much, but and perhaps I am, but it's not just fillers. The purpose, it's some people, especially the ones that are paying for the art, not just using AI art. People have to use less things, and sometimes it's just a couple of hard pieces, and then the rest is fillers.
I don't know that you can have too much art if all the art is working together.
Yeah.
If it's good, if it matches the tone, if there are no weak, what would you say, loose ends or weak links in the chain.
It's like you don't want something that like sticks out as opposed to the rest of it. But that's actually the use of the AI art. You guys are actually really good at making AI art because I play around with Midjourney a lot. We use it for like thumbnails and stuff on our videos a lot of times, but it's difficult sometimes to actually get good results out of it. And if you get like the Wretched Core book, I know that's got a lot of AI art in it, and it's all really good. It all works.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time to get the. It's not just 1 or 2 tries. I have to keep on doing it, and I also use Stable Diffusion, which allows you some more options. You can just Midjourney. You have I don't know 4 or 5 options.
Yeah.
Well, now the 5.2 has some more options. Those zoom options that allow you to create a new image. That is very good. You could also do that in Stable Diffusion for some time because and some other stuff, so you can just play around with it.
Yeah,
And
I have your.
It's also free, of course.
Yeah, I have your video on AI art, making the devil work for you, I think is the title. Or,
yeah,
and that's on my favorites. I'm waiting to spend some time and do a deep dive on that so I can learn your ways.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of tries. I can see that. I see him. He's always he's writing, and he's at the same time he's sending prompts.
Yeah,
and watching videos from other people. Videos. There are several YouTubers now that basically just do videos about AI art and how to use the several tools that are available and the sites. There's one There's one that is very good. I think you should try it. I'll link it here.
Awesome.
It's free as well, and it uses the next model for Stable Diffusion, which will probably dethrone Midjourney.
Nice.
Getting very, very, very good. So
that's the new one, right?
Yeah, it's
newest.
SDX something like that. So this one is very good. The other models before were they had some problems. Okay, so I'm going to put it here in the comments for you.
But yeah, even before you use the AI, before we start using AI art, you were using tons of stock photo because you wanted tons of pictures there.
Yeah.
And then it had a problem, but this is not what I really want, and this doesn't fit here.
Yeah.
Strangely, some of the best things I got was from a small publisher called Noelov, who has lots of old comics from the 40s, 50s. Some of them are 30s, and they were pretty good because they were good artists, not just
right
that stuff that you can buy for cheap prices. And they were good artists, and the only thing that was bad about it was the quality. Some of them weren't. The file itself was a small file.
Bad scan.
Bad scan. So, but we use it a lot before the AI art. It was basically our first use of different kinds of styles, because on stock art is very limited.
Yeah,
especially if you're not doing fantasy.
Yeah,
yeah.
I love also how angry people get about the use of AI art.
Yeah,
it just is wild. These people have no idea. They don't know anything about AI. They don't know anything about art. They don't know anything about copyright. It's like this trifecta of stupidity.
So your YouTube channel, there are some videos there of 8 years or 9 years. So what happened in between
the previous iteration?
I started that channel basically with the expectation that nobody was going to watch it. I wasn't, trying to entertain people. It was just kind of a thing for me where I talk about role-playing games, but also run role-playing games over Google Plus. And at some point, I had to get a job. So I put everything, I just nuked it and put everything on private for many, many years. And then we started thinking about, we'd been talking, I don't know, for at least a year, just once a week or so, for like hours. We'd talk about role-playing games. And I'd been kind of out of RPGs for quite a while. And I was like, you know what? We do have this channel. It's already about role-playing games, so it's not going to like confuse the algorithm or anything. So we could just dust that off, and went and updated all the thumbnails and metadata on all the old videos, which took way too much time.
Yeah, hours and hours.
Yeah, and hasn't, really, I don't think has made a difference at all. But we knew we had at least some segment of the people subscribed to us would like our content, but this was pre 2015. This was before the world went totally insane with all the woke madness. And we have been pretty much every video that we get, we lose some subscribers and we go up. And so it's just been this kind of weird staircase.
Yeah.
But
it also happens to us. Sometimes you gain more subscribers when you don't do videos.
Yeah. Anytime you're talking about something actually with a real opinion, you're going to get that. And like Matt said, the Black Lodge Games channel, previously to the name change, a lot of the content on the channel were live plays or RPG reviews, and it was in that community of mainly immersive focused role players. And so we knew we had at least some people who were somewhat on the same page, or at the very least would be speaking the same language that we were. And it was definitely the correct way to start, rather than creating a new channel from scratch. We already had some kind of a built-in audience. Yeah,
and it was about 10 years ago, there was on YouTube this kind of small group of channels. It was actually, it was hundreds of people, but a lot of people talking about immersion in role playing, and a lot of people who were playing like the World of Darkness games, Vampire the Masquerade, that sort of thing. And then all of those people, probably within the same time period that I got rid of my channel, did the same thing. They all wiped everything from the internet, and so it's like this. It was like the burning of the Library of Alexandria for immersive role playing.
So what happened at the time? What was the event?
It was basically, I think, just that the culture war was really starting to ramp up. All the people from Tumblr were getting out into the real world and getting jobs, and people started getting canceled and fired. And I saw that coming like a mile away. So I got rid of my stuff much sooner than I think a lot of people did. But it also it ripped that community apart, because it was also based, I think, a lot in Facebook. Because that was where it was known as like the YouTube Brigade. RPG Brigade. Yeah. And it was a lot of content creators. They did a lot of really interesting things. And from what I understand, because I had gotten out of that for quite a while, but there was a lot of people went super, super woke in that group, and it caused all sorts of fights and drama, and everybody hated each other. And then it just kind of collapsed because of that. Yeah.
It was also around the time, I don't know what the span was, but you had the YouTube adpocalypse happened. YouTube removed the ability for video comments, or video responses, I should say, which was a big thing, a big way for channels in the community, people to know who each other was and stay in communication. And around the same time, or shortly thereafter, Google shuttered their Google Hangouts service, which was primarily the way people were doing live plays at the time, over Google Hangouts.
And it had like dice rolling apps you could add. Like, it had a lot of stuff. It was better than Roll20 at the time. So
Google Hangouts is still better than Roll20 in that it's just focusing on one thing. All you need is a camera, a name tag, and a dice roller.
But the fact that they deleted it, to me, was proof that it was useful.
That was an interesting thing. I didn't know about that. I wasn't following YouTube channels.
Yeah, it was a small niche. It was a small niche, but it was there.
Yeah, and it was big enough that not only did you have the YouTube, the so-called YouTube RPG Brigade, which itself was the sort of organic name that arose. I forget who coined the term, but you had that overarching RPG community on YouTube. But within that, you also had even smaller communities or more niche communities of people, like you said, Matt, who were primarily focused on World of Darkness or Vampire the Masquerade, I think largely driven by Matt Dawkins' content, The Gentleman Gamer. There's a community which we've spoken about at a fair amount of length before for a game called Within the Ring of Fire, which was driven by and created by, or the game was created by another big popular YouTube channel at the time by a man called Andrew Wood. He had sort of a circle of people around him, following him, and you had these sort of smaller orbits of more niche genres or games. You did have some story game people.
Yeah.
You had your D&D people. You had people who were very what would you say? Sort of very getting very detailed and very interested in talking about mechanics or trying to distill these sort of academic topics about what is role play, what are the styles of role play. Runeslinger, Same Old G, these are names which come to mind. It was really cool. There was a niche. Yeah, go ahead.
You had asked also about what was the event, and that kind of caused all this to collapse. And I said the culture war, that was a big part of it. But Pundit made a good point when we talked to him last week, I believe, where basically 10 years ago, that was right prior to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition coming out. And that wiped out a lot of role-playing games because it just recaptured so much of the market. So I think that also was a big part of it, was that 5e was not out. So no one was playing D&D. People were getting a little tired of Pathfinder. And there were still a lot of independent role-playing games from the previous era. White Wolf and Onyx Path were still around. I mean, Onyx Path is still around, but
this was also the heyday of their mega Kickstarters, their 20th anniversary mega Kickstarters for Vampire, Werewolf.
Yeah, they're making millions of dollars on those. Yeah,
it was also the heyday of like RPG Kickstarters in general. The advent of that, you would hear several times a year of a major RPG Kickstarter either getting funded or launching. You had a lot of new additions of, again, not only World of Darkness products, but at least it seems that way to me. A lot of, with the novelty of crowdfunding, that also fed, I think, into the interest online. You had a lot of old games coming back into the limelight, getting a new edition, getting a new coat of paint, and
getting censored, having creativity stripped away from them.
yeah.
That's after the Awakening, all those game designers started working, basically destroying what they had done before, or new people destroying what people had done before. Have you played Vampire 5th edition?
I have.
Yeah.
Inevitable to talk about.
Yeah. So Vampire 5th edition, it's this weird thing. It's contentious on both sides. People who like are World of Darkness fans or are Chronicles of Darkness fans, whoever you whatever group of people you ask, there is a split of people who hate it and love it for different reasons. I happen to actually really like Vampire 5th edition, despite the fact that they totally capitulated, which is a tremendous tragedy. It's incredibly disappointing to see. For a number of years, I was running games primarily for Onyx Path, and also later on when the new White Wolf came into being for them as well. And I got a chance to talk to a lot of these the creative people in the new White Wolf, and say what you will about their politics, which no doubt are insufferable. They were actually passionate. Out of any game, like major game designer or creative staff for a game line, certainly a beloved game line like Vampire or World of Darkness in general, they actually had legitimate, real passion which I have to respect. I really like what they did with the hunger mechanic. I think it's the best idea that's come out of World of Darkness in 10 years, perhaps
20 maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, since Chronicles of Darkness, it's the best innovation on the World of Darkness milieu. But again, this is the trend, right? They hit the ground running with a lot of excitement, a lot of real legitimate passion, not only from the people making the game, but from consumers or fans of the product. And what happened immediately after that game came into being? You had nerds, World of Darkness nerds, who were upset that that not every I was dotted and T was crossed. They stepped away from the meta plot, and so you had tremendous backlash from that. And on the woke side, you had absurd, ridiculous. Well, I mean that goes without saying. These bullshit claims about what how can I put it? Not being tolerant in one way, shape, or form.
Racism, homophobia,
sexism, homophobia.
The death camps from
yeah.
Chechnya.
Yeah, that were removed.
Yeah, and I have so that controversy, so-called, was in the Camarilla book, which I think the rollout of the products, you had the Vampire 5th Edition core book, and then at the same time, the next two books that came out together were the Anarch source book and the Camarilla source book. And there's a section in the Camarilla book where you have these sort of in-world correspondences talking about different domains or different ways in which the Camarilla does its business. And you could pre-order that, and I pre-ordered the PDF and I got the PDF, so I still have the pre-redacted version. So when this all blew up, I went back to the PDF and I looked specifically at the section, like what actually, is there any legitimacy to the complaints that are going online, which they're absolutely, of course not. The whole premise is the prince of the region, the again, vampire monster,
murderous, bloodthirsty,
bestial, unholy creature, was sort of fanning the media fire, and sort of allowing the, what would you say, discrimination or persecution of homosexuals in Chechnya, so that the mortal authorities and the mortal media would focus on that and not the vampiric business going on behind the masquerade, which is exactly what you would expect.
Yeah.
And they even had, like, I think they had, it was the premise was there was a Justicar who was like going out to these different domains and reporting back to the inner council. And they even had that sort of NPC in his in-world writing, like, I don't know if I agree with it, but it makes a lot of sense. Like, which is ridiculous. Of course, a Justicar would agree with it, but they even threw in that to appease people. Like, you're a monster who assaults people every single day for eternity in order to survive, let alone all the other things you get up to in vampires. So, like with everything the woke claims, it was nonsense.
Of course,
go on. Sorry, Matt. No, go.
I was going to say, of course, the response that they should have had to those people was, this is an adult game.
Yes.
And if you don't like it, then you shouldn't play it, because these are the themes in the game. And they should have just said that and it would have blown over. But of course they decided to, submissively urinate, and it destroyed the company. They
folded completely, and it literally destroyed the company. So that is, if nothing else, that should be a lesson for everybody in all areas of life. Never apologize.
Yeah.
Apparently they never learn. They keep apologizing.
really, like, we have tremendous respect for everything that you guys have done, and not backing down on things is very, very inspiring, because it will happen to us at some
stupid.
point.
So but I was gonna say that I have a very strong opinion about Vampire New Edition. I hate it, but
Yeah.
I was
Tell
going
us
to play.
why.
I never got to play Vampire because I didn't have a group at the time.
hmm
So
Ah.
and Miguel was trying to convince me to be to actually run games, so he doesn't have to be stuck with the game master all the time.
Yeah.
So he got me the new Vampire. He was like, "Yes, let's
Excellent.
play Vampire." And I started reading it, and first I didn't like it. It was a bit, let's say, wishy-washy of the clans and all that.
hmm
And then you get to the. I'm even not even getting to the rules because I was not that familiar with the old rules before. But and then you get to the appendices when they say, if you're a Nazi, don't play this game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. Of course, that stuff is. But that's also par for the course for World
Yeah.
World of Dark
And the safety
White
tools.
Wolf.
There's
Yes,
plenty
and
of
all
safety
that.
tools
All
there.
those, and at the time, I was I was in some groups of Vampire in Facebook, and I saw people saying stupid shit like,
Yeah.
"Oh, if vampires would be racist or not." And I remember someone, "Oh, a vampire, someone with 200 or of course he's not going to be racist.
Or
He's
3,000 years
exactly.
years old.
There's no reason for him to be racist." I was like, "What?"
What? There's every reason.
I know.
Or there were the
There's no reason for him to not be racist. It's like almost assuredly that he's
Counterpoint.
gonna be
or
racist.
Tessimishi, that was Tessimishis are the ones that changed their right that were non-binary. Here is
Yeah.
my character is is non-binary because he can change his body.
Yeah. Very. Well, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. But that was
I remember
good.
the vagina with teeth in the old Tzimisi book, and
Yeah.
what's it-
Yeah,
the black dog. I think it was it called?
Black Dog. Yeah, yeah.
They published those
Yeah.
edgy,
Yeah. They're sort of
edgy stuff.
You
wink
guys
and
have your-
nod.
your-
Among that and cults, Miguel decided that he wanted to to start writing games and piss people off. So I
Yeah,
think
well,
we need to thank them.
if you played Cult as well, but they ruin it too. Slightly
No,
different.
they definitely do, and the woke stuff, the false virtue, is the worst thing with, well, really any RPG product, because you don't just see that with White Wolf and with Onyx Path, although there's certainly some of the worst offenders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were woke before. Like,
they were woke before it was
a
cool.
term.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and it's just been the restraint has been pulled off of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's, I don't think their games are selling very well anymore.
Yeah, their recent Kickstarter for what Matt Dawkins, They Came From anthology barely squeaked by it with a 20 grand
goal.
ask. And this is, again, like we were saying, it's only comparatively recently, a few years ago, they were, breaking 1 million easy for these 20th anniversary products, even re-releases of less known products like the Trinity.
And some of them coming out with, like I remember I think I backed it, but Exalted 3rd Edition, that book didn't come out for 6 years or something crazy. It was nuts.
Yeah.
It took
Same thing with
forever
Wraith.
Yeah. Just so I don't know. I think that gravy train is over for them though. And I haven't seen a single product that they've made within the last 5 years at all. Like probably more than that was something that I was interested in anymore.
Yeah, there's nothing they make that I care about. Everything sucks now. Their Scarred Lands setting, it's an even more bland and generic sort of D&D Forgotten Realms-esque fantasy. Their Dogs and Cats game, Pugmire Mao, is I'm trying to not get your channel demonetized, but it is not good.
No, our channel is not monetized, so you can.
Okay, well, regardless,
Yeah.
but still, you can imagine my thoughts on that. I am moderately interested. I did like their Trinity Continuum products back when it was White Wolf, but I already have the Trinity Aeon book, which is their sort of sci-fi psionics game. I already have that. I don't care. I don't care enough to get the new edition because I know they're going to erode it with, tolerance and
I had a look at the new Trinity. I was a fan of the first one,
yeah.
the White Wolf game. I liked it. I
Mhm.
quite liked it, even though it was a little bit already a kind of, as you said before, they were woke before wokeness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was young at the time, so I was stupid.
Right.
Yeah, and the
Uh,
thing is, when we were young and playing White Wolf games, they were still kind of like transgressive, and they were,
yeah,
they were
Yeah.
crossing lines. And so when the
Mhm.
cultural lines shifted, and people were like, "This is too far for our sensitivity," it's just like, you pussies. Like,
Yeah,
what is
exactly.
wrong with you people? Like
Yeah, the whole point was to push the boundaries, be punk. You
yeah,
know.
yeah, least punk thing ever.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But I am I saw a Twitter ad come up recently for um Werewolf the Apocalypse 5th edition, which I will still look into. That's obviously not Onyx Path. It'll be White Wolf, or White Wolf as their sort of leasing company to other freelance developers. I'm interested to see if they're able to do anything redeeming about that, or if it'll be a complete black hole of sort of wokeness. But again, like I said, I think there's a lot of actual interesting, evocative stuff in Vampire 5th edition, and I also like, in large part, how they put over hunters in Hunter the Reckoning, their new iteration of Hunter the Reckoning. I think they did a pretty good job, all things considered. I was never particularly interested in Hunter, but I'm far more interested in it. So they're still making at least high production value books that have a core of a world and a character concepts which are interesting. So we will see. Maybe that will be what carries these beloved things into hopefully a return.
I am
when
not
we
holding
can.
my breath.
I'm not holding my breath either, but
I
who
can't be
knows?
that positive about anything anymore. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Certainly
we're
not in
making a
this.
new
Yeah,
version. No.
Yeah.
yeah, certainly not in this hobby.
Well, that's why we need
yeah.
independent game creators to come in and
Exactly.
do good work and interesting work.
So you talk about you talk a lot about White Wolf and White Wolf games. That's how it started. You started with
Uh,
White Wolf.
so I originally started with AD&D Second Edition in the '90s, just because that's what my older brothers had been playing for a long time, and we had those books in the house. But I met one of my best friends to this day in high school, and he was playing Vampire, which I'd never heard of, and I love the vampire myth. Like, just I read Dracula when I was in grade school, all sorts. Like, I just love vampires. So this was directly up my alley. And being a teenager, the White Wolf games really, I think, are appealing to teenage men.
Yeah.
And so I got very deeply into the White Wolf games. I played a lot of Vampire the Requiem and World of Darkness as well when they rebooted after the End Times books came out, Time of Judgment rather. And I got a lot out of that game for a very, very long time. So it's the game that I have at this point. I wouldn't say I've played it the most, because I've played a lot of Within the Ring of Fire, but the White Wolf games are kind of when I remember my early period of being in RPGs, it's all White Wolf.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
haven't watched your video about that game, Within the Ring of Fire, but you can talk about that later, because
Sure.
I don't know the game. I never heard about it. So, but proceed,
Yeah.
Nick. I was
No, it's all good. I have a very different sort of origin story. I got started with Pathfinder First Edition. That was the first game I played. Not that long ago, all things considered. I don't know, maybe 13 years ago, maybe. It's when I started gaming. I only gained an awareness of Vampire the Masquerade. Well, I knew about it from the game Bloodlines, and from Vampire. Was it VTM? Is it Redemption? Was the first?
Yeah, that was.
video
I
game?
never. Yeah,
I never played it.
Parents wouldn't let me get that.
So I'd heard the name, but it wasn't until again that RPG community on YouTube that I learned about it. Again, the Gentleman Gamers videos and all the other channels talking about it. And when the 20th anniversary editions came into their heyday, but when I learned about it, I really drew to it, particularly to Vampire. I've never had a particular affinity to werewolves. The werewolf myth isn't particularly interesting to me. I've always been really interested in mage. I love magic and what have you, but that game is incomprehensible to me. So I've never played in or ran a mage game, and likely, well, I'll play in one. I will not run one.
Mm-hmm.
And once Chronicles of Darkness, once I was aware of Chronicles of Darkness and started diving into those, particularly when the second edition books came out.
Yeah.
That more and more was really like, okay, these guys are doing something interesting. Role play first, role play focused mechanics.
Yeah. And the second edition of the Chronicles of Darkness books, because that name changed because of licensing issues and whatnot. Yeah. But for Vampire the Requiem, which was, everybody hated that game when it came out, and I loved it. And part of that was that they got rid of all the meta plot, and it was a much more darkly mysterious sandbox kind of game where that you could do your own thing with. But the second editions were really really good. It gave that game an identity of its own that was very separate from Vampire the Masquerade, because the first edition was just like tripping over itself, apologizing that it wasn't Vampire the Masquerade.
They really distilled the identity, the execution of a particular genre and a particular feel really well.
It's a very good game that I have been rereading recently and want to run again, but I've got 100 other games that I have to run before that.
And Chronicles came out with a lot more, maybe not a lot more, but more sort of supernatural creatures, and did them better than White Wolf did. My mind goes to Changeling. I vastly prefer Changeling the Lost, despite the fact that it is fertile ground for rainbow hair people to just wallow in self-misery. And Promethean as well, which is
it's so cool.
That might be my favorite Chronicles of Darkness line, just because it's different and it's interesting. Play a Frankenstein or a Golem, and Demon the Descent as well, which is
I was going to say
excellent.
that next.
Yeah,
because Demon the Descent, it's separated from like the Christian mythology entirely. There's nothing that has nothing to do with it. There's this idea of this thing called the God Machine that is this entity, techno-Lovecraftian entity that is kind of a force of the universe and like a part of the fabric of reality that like people, when they encounter supernatural things, it's often like contact with some element of it, and you play kind of one of the agents of the God Machine who has escaped its shackles. And it's a lot weirder than like Demon the Fallen one was, which was explicitly
very, very unique.
Yeah.
So that game you mentioned before, Within the Ring of Fire, can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So out of that RPG brigade, that was we made friends with this guy named Ander Wood. He's still got he just started making videos again the other day, which was great.
I think I talked to him yesterday, and he said he has like a rapid fire 3 videos.
Nice.
Coming out on his channel, but
at the time he was like one of the biggest RPG YouTubers. He's got like 7,000 or 8,000 subscribers, and he has a very big personality, and through kind of sheer force of personality and his own creativity, he put out his game called Within the Ring of Fire, which is this like very bizarre dark fantasy world, that his whole thing was focusing on, like, this is immersive role play. We're all here to role play, and you're going to get the best stories out of this that you've ever had. And it's not for the faint of heart. It's like very right. Like now it was pre-culture war, but now it would be considered based, as the children say, I think,
Yeah.
and not afraid to touch on any topic whatsoever.
It doesn't the world doesn't compromise itself. There are no, what would you say, throwaway conventions or throwaway player options that are clearly shoehorned in there to make something more balanced or quote unquote playable.
Yeah. And there's like, it's a game that really took off in a I mean, it was fairly small crowd of people playing it, but I went on Drive Through RPG the other day after this and looked at it, and he's got like a couple of them are like Electrum bestsellers. Like it's sold fairly well, especially for just his
game of that time.
Yeah, exactly, a game of that time, and it was just him, totally word of mouth. But it became kind of this focal point for a lot of people who were looking for a more immersive roleplay style and wanted to take their game seriously. And there's still people playing it, which is the crazy thing. There's an active Discord that is full of people still playing this game. We played an enormous amount of it. Ran a lot of games, played in a lot of games, and it was, I don't know how to describe it in short, because it's so out there and weird in some ways. But very, very fast. When you learn the mechanics, it's very fast to actually use them in the game. And it's a game that is just dripping with atmosphere and has one of the most interesting pantheons in fantasy games, in my opinion.
It was a game that came out at the perfect. It was the perfect game at the perfect time.
Yep.
Or I think what both of us were looking for, that crystallized a lot of opinions, role play desires that we had, but maybe had some difficulty either fully implementing in a different game, a different setting, and certainly with sort of normie gamers, right? But that something of that attitude, of the attitude of an immersive role play first mindset. It's written in the book, and the book does a very good job of that.
Mm-hmm.
But just an extra layer of, I don't know, being able to convey that feel was delivered through the many videos that were on Anders' channel and still are on Anders' channel, and the people commenting, making video responses, people actually talking about what he's talking about or the products he's putting out. And you had that built-in community of everybody who had been basically reading the same material, consuming the same material, and thinking about the same thing. And so not only did you really have a good understanding of what the game was going for once it launched, there was a built-in player base of people who already were up to speed and were interested. And so it made for a lot of really, really, really engaging roleplay experiences.
Yeah, there's some really interesting stuff in those books too. Just like they're not throwaway lines at all, but they're specific sentences that I still remember. Like there's one where he's basically talking. I don't know if it was in the equipment chapter or not, but he basically said, like, your character doesn't have to start with a weapon. It's like you could play a knight or something who doesn't have a sword, he's like, you have something more. When you do that, you have something that's more important than a sword. You have a story. You know, you have an idea of who this person is, like what circumstances led to them not having a weapon when they start the game. Just like little things about thinking about taking your character a little more seriously and not just focusing on get the +5 sword, get the best abilities, make your and this again was at like 3.5 and 4th edition times for D&D, like make the best build you can. Like none of that was a concern. It was like throw all that in the trash, use your imagination.
Yeah, a message which certainly even at the time wouldn't be accepted by the mainstream, and definitely not now. Not least of which, not only for all of the based aspects of the setting, but in the core book, there's no rules for magic. There are no magic weapons in the core book because the rules aren't there. The rules
it took like a couple years for that book to come out for magic rules.
Okay, so we are getting to the controversial part of this.
Let's make everybody mad at us. Let's talk about immersion.
Let's do
Everybody
it.
will hate us after this. Okay, so you weren't story gamers, right?
No, despite what you may have heard.
Right. Yeah.
And I know you weren't.
I didn't.
I understand that. But
No,
some people might think
I think
that
people.
you are.
That's the problem. I think people confuse story. I hate story games, but I also don't want to play a role play as a board game. I think the problem is that some people don't understand there's something in between. I also hate
before we
LARPs.
go into that, where were you in the Forge? If you were accompanying that thing, the gameist, narrativist, simulationist thing, you weren't there.
I did not participate in the Forge.
Yeah,
It's something that I've heard about after the fact. Whatever its heyday or
I didn't hear about it until like 2 months ago.
Miguel had a group destroyed by the Forge.
Yeah,
not
the
just
Forge
that. Wars.
Many such cases,
Campaign
from what I
and,
understand.
Yes, there were many. The Forge Wars were very interesting.
I have watched a number of. I don't think I'm subscribed to him anymore because it was just Ron Edwards' channel, and it was either insufferable to listen to or just boring. He had a mildly interesting conversation with somebody a few years ago about RuneQuest, but it was more just talking about the history of RuneQuest rather than anything he was saying. So any American who expatriates to Scandinavia is not worth listening to.
Very sus. Yeah. I had like this whole like story gaming term. It was kind of new to me because I was like, what are these people even talking about with the differences between like sandboxing and D&D or doing this total narrative thing? And I was like, how is anyone playing these games? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, this is neither of these things is what I've been doing.
Yeah.
I have the same attitude towards that. Have you tried any story game? I mean, playing it or running it.
I had a one shot of a story game sort of forced on me in a I may have done it in a convention. Yeah, I think I may have played in one at a convention just because I didn't know what. Anytime I go to a convention, which has not been for several years, and I have no desire to go to ever again now, except to troll people, maybe. I wanted to. My mindset was I want to play games I don't get to play at home. So there was a story game, and it was, it's this very procedural. We take turns sort of narrating, it was lame. It was clunky. It sucked. I think I played as a palate cleanser. Somebody suggested a game. Oh God, I don't remember the name. I know that the name of the developer is someone who's, I think, somewhat contentious. It was some sci-fi one-shot game where you have like amnesia, and you're putting you're piecing back your memory together. It sucked.
That sounds terrible.
Any game where you're overly interfacing with the mechanics to get a narrative effect, that's not an immersive experience. That's not what I want. You may as well write something, or draft a script or a story outline, or just have a creative workshop. If you want to do a creative workshop as a creative enterprise for people, or as practice for getting words on paper, maybe there's some value there, but almost certainly not. The very limited quote unquote story game experiences I've had have been true misery, and nothing I ever want to do again.
It was very odd to me hearing about this stuff, because that sounds miserable. But it's some of these arguments I've had have forced me to clarify more explicitly what I mean by story in games, because it's like, it's emergent narrative. It's stuff that like is not predictable, and it's not going to have a pre-planned arc.
Plotted out.
Yeah. This is all stuff that I knew like implicitly, like all the games. If you've ever been in a game where players actually, make choices and do things, as a game master, they throw you for a loop all the time, so you can't over prepare, because once that happens like 2 or 3 times in a row where they zig when you thought they were going to zag, like you realize I can't just sit here and spend hours and hours of game prep. You're
either going to change or you're going to quit.
Right. It's like I can do all the prep and then have to improvise, or I can just come in and just improvise, so whatever's going to happen, that's going to be the end result anyway. And so it was very, very weird to me hearing these really kind of autistic takes on this stuff, which some of it was positive and like I said, clarified my thinking, but some of it's also like, I just want to be able to say a lot of times, like, this game is going to have a really cool story, and for people to just understand what that means.
Right. Which, and anyone who's not, sub-midwit IQ understands that as a natural byproduct of being a thinking human.
Yeah.
I'm very convinced that a lot of the, and I'm trying to choose my words again. A lot of the ridiculous, let's say, thunder and fury against these very specific terms. I don't even think most of these people. I don't think anymore that these people are ignorant. Some people are. I think more of it is just bad faith people, or this is what happens when you talk about anything that you actually care about or are interested in with nerds. And nerds get ridiculoly pedantic as their stated goal about something, and just want to argue minute details that are not pertinent to the actual conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I meant. You know what I meant. Stop pretending that you didn't. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
That's I'm of the opinion right now. I think we've, like, to the Twitter space, right? Like, how many words can be used, right? It's like
it's funny too, because when we this was a couple of weeks ago, whenever we talked about sandboxing and immersion and everything on Story Game at the Extreme is just participation trophies for all players.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
But yeah, when we recorded an episode on this, and we're like, some people are probably going to get kind of mad about this. And I just went and posted on Twitter about it, kind of a throwaway tweet, and a lot of people got really mad. We had no idea that it was going to hit. It was like we hit a nerve. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
which is always great.
I remember when you talked, I think it was like some months ago, about the dungeons and why is all gold, why is the gold dungeons? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, that was also fun.
I know none of it makes any sense. Like, and the thing is, you can make it make sense. It's and
But you
it's
can play and have fun with that. But just admit
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
it's a bit silly.
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
don't lie to me. Like, don't, what's the phrase? Like, don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to play a trash game, you're more than welcome to play a trash game. Or if you want to just switch your brain off, I want to watch a popcorn movie. Like, fine, you can do that, but
say
don't
that.
tell me this. Don't tell me this is high art.
Yeah,
Don't tell me this
that-
is.
That's what was driving me crazy, because there was somebody was arguing that, like, well, all of our ancient myths go back to Enkidu and Gilgamesh.
Yeah,
They were going into the underworld for magical treasure and blah. I was like, none of you are playing in the style of ancient Mesopotamian myth.
Yeah.
Don't even pretend that you are. That is a lie.
that is a lie. Yeah.
Even when I played Dungeons and Dragons, I avoided the dungeons because it was always the same thing. It's just
Yeah.
you
It's the
enter
least interesting
place
part.
and there are traps and monsters and okay, I've done that once.
Yeah.
Why repeat it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so much more interesting things that you can do.
Yeah.
But I understand that can be interesting to some people. I'm being nice. And for example, we had a player that with his other group, he was very, how can I say, what is the word for that? Miguel, help me.
I don't know who you mean.
I'm thinking
or what.
about Jota, that the group that he
Oh, yeah.
plays, that they are very.
It's called Gamist.
Yes, they are always focused on
On the
preparing
GNS
what is the
series.
plan that they're going. And when they played
Very
with us,
tactical.
two of them, it was 2D20 Mutant Chronicles, and they were making the plan.
Okay.
It was like I fire, and I made my, and that is also a bit the 2D20 system is also a bit of gaming. So I built my character. It made sense, but she was a good shooter. So, and I bought the good arm. So it's like while they were making the plans, I killed everybody. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
you went for the plan. No,
For my
My
next
character
action, I
doesn't-
escape from this prison.
Yeah.
my character doesn't. Yeah, my character doesn't plan. She just kills them.
Yeah. And this is something that we said multiple times, but people chose not to listen to it. You can make a dungeon, going into a dungeon for gold or for magic or for whatever reason, interesting. If you consider your character, if you create your character with an answer to the question, why am I doing this? Why am I risking life, limb, my immortal soul, in some cases, to go into these horrific places, which people don't go into? That's why they're dungeons, right? If you answer the question, there's 10,000 different interesting reasons,
Yeah.
compelling and immersive, or compelling roleplay reasons, which you can seriously immerse yourself in to answer that question. Why am I not like an everyday person? Why am I forced to, or why do I desire to gain wealth and treasure, or whatever, or whatever reason you're going into? Why am I doing that rather than starting, a business? Why am I not taking my father's trade and making money that way?
Yeah.
There are answers to these questions if you put
There's a
an
lot of
ounce
them.
there's an endless number. And if you would just think about that and build a character, this dovetails into our discussion about like backstories, which also people were didn't understand. Didn't understand and got upset about. Like, your character is not a video game construct that is complete. It's a complete blank slate apart from the mechanical considerations and like the gameplay loop of the game you're playing in. Because it's Dungeons and Dragons, I have built in, evolutionary instincts to go in dungeon and kill monster and get shiny gold piece.
Yeah.
Just put a moment's thought into your character and you can totally turn this around. At least from your perspective, your GM may still be trash and your players may still be trash, and they probably are, but you can at least do better.
I think it's also because of the fifth edition people and that
Yeah.
idea that they just appear and they want to play the Tiefling. And
Yeah.
of course, you can build a backstory, but the backstory needs to match what the
Yeah.
the GM.
My
wants to run.
backstory is that I'm a tiefling.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, some of this probably is a result of having been in very bad games on the other end of the spectrum, like you're saying. And that's justified. I do give people some leeway on that, but it's the idea though that they're running like the high art, so like this is the pinnacle of playing, is going into is just doing dungeon crawls and hex crawls, and I just don't buy that. Because I have
talking
done
about
that.
the Broessar as an example, and I have no problem with saying shit about the Broessar. So
Okay.
but they are winning at D&D. So
Yeah, I know. Oh man. They also, it's funny that because I watched the Basic Expert stream with that guy Jeffro or whatever, and the stuff they were describing, like the whole timekeeping thing, like I get what they're doing. Like I do get that. That doesn't bother me so much, but it was interesting that like they're talking about this high level play that's happening between sessions with like patron players and all this stuff. And it's a very emergent world. There's hundreds of people involved. And I was like, they've been doing that in Vampire for decades, like in LARPs and everything. And I think they may have addressed that at some point. I can't remember. I don't want to be totally
but
unfair
they also
here.
do that in some online games and morphs and EVE Online and games
EVE
like
Online,
that. So
exactly.
that's not
Exactly, like the weird emergent crazy stories that have come out of EVE are incredible, and so it's like it's not terribly innovative in my opinion. Like this is, and maybe they're not even arguing that, I'm not sure, because they are basically saying go back and play the rules as it was written, but it doesn't seem like I have no interest in playing in that way.
Yeah, and this also this is, I don't want to say it's completely divorced, but it's like from our perspective, we're coming at this with a mindset and a I guess a philosophy. It's immersive immersive role playing.
Mm-hmm.
The main goal
is to win an Oscar. No,
is to win an Oscar. Is to embody my character, to get to see the world through their eyes in the moment. That's what I want. I'm not opposed to doing other things that aren't in opposition to that necessarily, but that's not the highest goal in a role-playing game experience, not from where I'm sitting. If you want to, for whatever reason, if you want to take on 5 different gaming groups a week and do one-to-one time and wrangle all these people, if you don't have a job
and hang out with 50 other nerds,
50 other apes, then by all means you can do that. But that sounds like literal hell.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree. It's like, imagine hanging out with 50 other nerds, and oh god, I know they're not all playing at the same time. I get that.
We got Frog Arcus in the chat.
Oh, nice. Frog Arcus is one of our friends started a big YouTube channel this year with who's a big OSR fan here. Just joined the stream. Glad I could catch it. He does not play role playing games.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, but I like smaller groups of gaming in gaming. Like I don't want to go generally more than 4 players. I can do 5, but
3 to 4.
3 to 4 is for me the sweet spot. You really get
for your style. It's not possible to have a 6 or 7. In our case, it's exactly the same thing. I think 3 to 4 it's the best. It's the best thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
5 it's already too much because it's boring for the other people.
Yeah. And you want like Sorry, go ahead, Nick.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's like as a GM, like I like each of the players. They will all end up getting their kind of own pieces of the game, and you can have enough of a focus on each person while also having your focus on the whole group. So like the game doesn't get bogged down. It's not like someone took up the entire session with what they're trying to do, you know, like their portion of the game or whatever. You don't have any of that, but you have enough people there that it's providing lots of different input and lots of things are happening. So it's kind of 3 to 4 is the sweet spot and for my style.
And even from the player's perspective, it's far easier for me as a player portraying a character to be able to deeply and meaningfully have some kind of a relationship, a connection, positive or negative, from, you know, in world with 2 to 3 other characters than, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 other characters. There's just, okay, you're doing something else that has no relationship to what I'm doing. I just don't care. I just will not interact with your character because there's no reason for me to. And again, unless you're playing, you know, a bog standard dungeon crawl. But again, if you're playing just a bog standard dungeon crawl, you're not doing immersive role play in general.
And you have a bunch of people in the dungeon. That's also weird. It needs to be a big dungeon.
Yeah. I was gonna say, with regard to, oh my god, my thought just went away. This is so, I hate it when this happens. No. Oh my god, senior moment.
Well, something I want to going back briefly, something that struck my memory. I forgot that this was mentioned in our conversation with Punda. You know, talking about what is the what's the problem, right? What's the disconnect? He made an interesting point which I hadn't considered. That
real Frasier remembered. I do remember the point now, so I'll bring it back from this. Yeah,
I'll relinquish it back to you before I get started.
Yeah. So with regard to like number of players and how long these people are playing, like some of these people will tweet about like, I have 3 games that I'm a part of right now. I do one on Wednesday, one on Friday, one on Sunday, and we're all playing for 6 hours at a time. You know, and I'm like, that sounds crazy and miserable to me. Like I have other interests and other things that I want to do. Like I can't I can't imagine running or playing in that many games. I mean, if you really
6
love
hours, after 3 hours, I'm exhausted. I can't go on.
And that's part of it. Who were we talking to about that? Oh no, it was Mr. Max was talking about role playing in one of his videos recently, and he said that role playing is actually very taxing when you're doing it because you're active the whole time. You're putting yourself in the character's shoes. And for him, like when combat happens, that's kind of like this kind of like reprieve where like, oh, I can kind of relax, get in this little tactical mode. And I completely agree with that because by hour 4,
nerds don't have girlfriends.
Yeah. Big
not
true.
A problem.
Yeah.
Or they are too old and they don't want to see their wives and just
right. Right. But it's like, after hour, like at hour 4, I'm running out of gas, and it's because you're putting so much mental energy into it. And so the idea that like, you play for 6 or 8 hours at a time and do that multiple times a week, that is wild to me. I could never do that.
Assuming it's just combat, it's probably easier, but still it's a long time.
If I'm a player, I can go for a little bit longer. But if I'm the GM, I think 3 hours is like, I don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
In double time, I'll play. It's okay.
Once in a while, I could go to 3:30, maybe.
Yeah.
If it's running very well. If I had a coffee before or something like that, but it's a rare thing to happen.
Yeah. For me, 4 hours is the sweet spot. You can go a little bit longer.
I'm almost 50.
If something is if something is being resolved, but generally that's where That's what I go for any game
It
that
also
I'm running.
depends of how you play, because if you're playing with the, I think when we were playing live, we were taking longer because we were live, and we have some moments that we're actually not
Yeah,
playing. When
stopping.
we are playing online, and especially if we are recording for streaming, we try to focus more on
Yeah.
playing, so it's more
Yeah.
exhaustive. It's more
Yes, I
intense.
completely agree. It's much more exhaustive when you're doing it online for
So
that
maybe you're
very
doing
reason.
6 hours
Right.
with an hour for snacks.
You're sitting
Yeah.
still. You're
Yeah,
just staring at the
Doing
camera.
a smoke break, taking, like all that. Yeah.
yeah. When I played the live years ago, we obviously interrupted the game session, and that also helped things because if you interrupt for half an hour, then you can just go back and play maybe
Yeah.
another 2 hours. But online, you're not going to do that.
Right.
Oh, you
I
could do
completely
it, but
agree.
you won't do it. And
Right.
right now, we are just playing online because it's difficult to get people
Yeah.
to have their schedules. And well, that's
In that way, you don't have to have anybody at your house, at our place.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there is an advantage in that. I have I got a fairly large table now, so it was like I need to use this. So
Yeah.
I started we play almost every other week. I have a game going on at home, but then sometimes some of us travel and things like that. So it can become a little inconsistent, but it's also the kinds of games that I like to play. Take people who are kind of obsessed with the hobby, like they like
Yes.
I really want to run the Invisible College at some point, but that's not a game that you can run with people who are even sort of casual. They have to really kind of buy in on that.
Right.
So I'm waiting for Nick to move to Texas, and so I'll have one player. But and we don't have to switch topics, but I did want to say that while reading Wretched Epoch, that seems like a perfect fit as a setting for Invisible College with all the secret
Yeah.
societies and everything like that. I was like, oh, this is. I was like, I want to do this now. This is because I'm
Yeah,
having a hard time wrapping my
even
head around.
though the game itself is modern times, but I think the 19th century, the late 19th century,
I
is
think
very good
Pandit
for that.
suggested that when he did the review.
Yeah,
Of course he
yeah,
did.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also,
Yes, plug in.
of course he did. But I also thought maybe when I have the time, I would do an adventure that is based on with the Invisible College to actually bring it in.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea because I might do that too.
Yeah.
I might make the.
Now we don't have the time to play other games except Ratchet because it's
Yeah.
impossible. Having even if you have 2 game sessions a week, it's impossible. But I would like to play Invisible College.
Yeah.
It's my kind of thing. And from Bandits games, it's the one I thought that's closest to what we like.
I agree.
Yeah.
It is. It's very much. Go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just saying, to bring it back to the core identity of our channels. My first thought for starting an Invisible College game would be to do it in a similar vein to Twin Peaks, where you are all basically, maybe you know a little bit, or maybe you like Dale Cooper, are interested in dreams and Tibetan mysticism, and they seem to work, and you don't know why, and you're investigating these weird things, and you use Welcome to St. Cloud to generate an interesting sort of.
Though I think I would do it maybe pick up the Return, because that way you have a bigger world. You're not just in that little town.
Yeah.
Right.
Something that we have talked about several times, especially in blog articles, is how soap operas and the structure of the soap opera is good for this kind of thing, immersion. I mean, in the several of my games, for example, well, obviously, Welcome to St. Cloud is one of them, but also one of the scenarios that I published through Postmortem, and then I republished through the Red Room. The Memorial was also meant to be kind of a soap opera, but it's also horror.
In Darfium Loft.
Yeah, and often, yeah. The other one not so much, but those are basically soap operas, or they could be also sitcoms, but turned
Yeah.
into horror games.
I mean,
Because
you're
the characters are very developed and the relationships between them. Go ahead.
yeah. No, I was just going to say, I would echo exactly what you concluded with. I don't have really any soap opera experience other than Twin Peaks, which is
Yeah.
itself sort of a commentary on,
Yeah.
not a commentary on, but it's
Well,
sort of a,
Lynch would actually argue that it's not a commentary on soap operas; that it is
is
literally a soap opera, and
Yeah.
that was where he and Frost, I think, were kind
Um,
of pulling in different directions
yeah.
creatively on the show.
But I mean that's the key of it, right? Because a soap opera, like a game, is built, solely from, in any way that really matters or lasts, is built solely from character relationships, characters with other characters, characters with NPCs, and NPCs with other NPCs. That is what makes the world come alive. That is what creates the drama. That's the only thing that creates interesting drama. Even if you have some sort of an external threat or a situation, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't really come alive or become resonant until opinions and relationships with other characters comes into play. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right there.
Yeah, and I think the
it
next
generates
time,
a living world, as some of those guys like to.
Yeah.
The fact that, of course, it has to be a smaller world, not a country or
I
a
like
universe,
that though.
but something smaller. Yeah, smaller scale of it. Maybe a city.
Smaller scale and smaller stakes make for better stories and for better
Yes.
everything. It's like you look at kind of one example would be in like the superhero genre, of movies. It's always like the world's gonna blow up or Thanos, is gonna kill half of the
Who
people.
cares?
Who fucking cares? But
Yeah.
then you get the movie Deadpool comes out, and it's still a superhero movie. He's still doing wacky things and cutting people's heads off and doing backflips and stuff. But the whole point is that he's like, no, I have to save my girlfriend.
Right.
It's not about saving the world. It's like, I have to save my girlfriend. And
Yeah.
that's it. Like so it made it a much like more personal story, even in this weird genre. And I like that. It's a bit like, I want things that people care about,
Right. Or you're Daredevil. Where is Daredevil? He's not on Earth. He's not in North America. He's not in the United States. He's not in New York City. He's in Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he cares about. And my mind goes back to we talked about within the Ring of Fire. One of the things which it was the first time I experienced games like this, because everybody was on the same page with that kind of very immersive role play focused mindset, and the way the setting in that game was written. A lot of the stories which organically came about were very quote unquote mundane stories.
Yeah.
I played for 30 sessions. I'm a jeweler. I'm just a guy who has a craft. Matt, you are playing someone who's trying to help found a new town, a new village. You're just people in a world. You're not adventurers. You're not crusading knights, or you can make those things interesting, but what's more interesting to me is just playing the village blacksmith or playing a farmer in a community
Who gets
son of
caught
a farmer
up in
that's
in
caught
things.
up in
Yeah.
in situation, again, just like Twin Peaks, right? No one other than everyone
Other than Dale
no one
Cooper.
other than
Yeah.
Dale Cooper goes in or out of Twin Peaks, with the exception of One-Eyed Jacks. But regardless, it's all everything's happening in and around Twin Peaks, and playing a character like Hawk, or like I ran whole day LARP using physical mechs laser tag. That combat occurred only once. A mix of story and how engrossed the players are in their roles. Yeah. But that is what is interesting. And that, to your point about soap operas, that is,
I hadn't thought of that. That's a really the soap opera.
We
That's
are
a really
Portuguese.
good idea.
It's part of our TV. Basically, not right now. There's basically an industry of soap operas. They aren't exactly like like American soap operas. They are
They're
inspired
shorter.
by Brazilian soap operas. Well, shorter in terms of time
No,
span,
because yes,
but
because the
they usually have
American
more
soap
episodes
operas
because they are
run
daily.
for
Yeah,
years. Yes.
but
Mhm.
the Brazilian soap operas are daily, so you have 5
Yeah.
episodes a week, so they are very intensive.
Yeah, yeah.
Many episodes. Portuguese soap operas are the same thing basically. So it's kind of we spent our childhood and our teenager years watching that kind of thing. Not that I like it, but the
Yeah.
structure of it and
Yeah, I
the
know
way
what
it
you're saying.
works, I think it and I only understood that after watching Twin Peaks, because then I
Yeah.
said, oh, okay, that's it. That's
Yeah.
how you do it, but in a different way, of course, because I'm not a housewife, so soap operas are not made for me.
Yeah,
So-
Right.
But the David Lynch version of it, yeah, that's
Yes.
exactly what
I
we
know
are playing.
exactly.
Yeah. Need more Lynchian soap operas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he needs to
that's
make another
true.
movie.
He should have done Mulholland Drive as a TV show.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that would have been cool.
that would have been fantastic.
I just
would've
want
been-
more David, like
Yeah, I hope he
whatever it
makes
takes, however
something
much
else.
money needs to be given to that man. Like, just make some more stuff before you check out, man.
Yeah, please.
I think he still has a lot of time, but I don't think he's interested. He seems
Yeah.
to be very, very out of that. Well, maybe he'll change his mind later.
Yeah. Well,
I don't
He
know.
did do the return. It would be nice if
Yeah.
he could continue that, but
yeah.
They've
it would
been
be better
doing-
than nothing.
Literally anything.
Yeah.
And
I
it does
love- I
even
love
not
the
movies.
return.
Like write a book or do like I don't know.
He
If that's
does-
that's not his medium, but
He
more
does do
Lynchian stuff.
his weather updates on his YouTube
weather
channel.
updates and of
the
course-
number of the
Raven
day.
is
Number
is
of the
still-
day.
You
is still
don't have to
angry
get
because
it.
it's not supposed to.
You're not supposed to get it. That's the
Yeah.
fun part of it. It doesn't make sense.
We watched after we watched Mulholland Drive. We were when Nick was here the first time. We were like, "That was awesome." No idea what it means. And then we watched some YouTube explainer, and we're like, "Oh, okay, that kind of makes sense." And then we went and which was the one we watched? This
Inland
Empire.
Empire.
This last time.
Well, I can't like that one. I don't. I
Yeah.
tried, but
Yeah.
no,
We-
that's too much for me.
We were
watched
watching
but
it.
we didn't like it. Yeah, let's.
Yeah.
We were watching it, and
Like
uh,
I hate this.
yeah, we were kinda
Initially,
like,
yeah.
we were like, we hate this, and we realized 2/3 of the way through the movie, we're like, there's supposed to be subtitles on the foreign language
Polish
parts.
subtitles. Yeah.
We had been watching from the beginning. There was no subtitles on the copy that we had, and so we were like, oh, these people are speaking a different language. This must just be a choice that Lynch made.
Yeah.
So it was like we had no idea what any of those characters were saying during those portions, and so I
can't
looked.
remember
we looked
that.
it up. We looked it up, and someone was said like, I made the mistake of watching this without subtitles. I then made the mistake of watching it with of thinking that watching it with subtitles would make me understand the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we watched another YouTube like explains and like okay, that makes
Kinda
sense. I
see
still
there's an
I
idea
kind of
there.
see
I
it,
still
but
have
I
no
still
idea
don't
what it's
like it.
about.
I don't
Yeah,
hate
and
it
I don't
anymore,
like it. Yeah,
but I will not watch it again.
yeah.
The thing
I don't think I
It
will.
was like
about
4 hours
Lynch,
long.
and I
Yeah.
think Miguel took a page of that book, and I copied them. Is if you read some of his books, so the one that's catching the big fish, he will tell you that
Yeah.
it's all random. It doesn't mean anything, and people are just creating the meanings for
Yeah.
stuff. But for him, it's just I thought this would look nice.
Yeah.
My favorite thing ever is when like journalists will corner him and ask him about these
Ask him
things.
for
And
an
he's like-
explanation.
He's like, and I just think that there's all the references to electricity and electrical towers and Twin Peaks, and even your own logo at the end of each
Yeah.
episode has this crackling electricity. It's got to be something about the neurons in the brain firing and all this. Am I even close on this? And he just goes, no.
No. Yes.
I guess we'll never know what
Yeah.
happens.
I want to make
Well,
I want to make
probably-
that a meme. Just rather than Gigached, yes guy. David Lynch, no.
No, yeah.
Just the red eyes, David Lynch, no.
So about your mission from God,
Yeah.
Yes.
does that mean that your channel will always be about immersion and all that's connected to it?
Yeah, I think
I mean,
so.
I think so. It'll always be connected. It's not
Yeah.
only what we're going to be talking about.
It's the
yeah.
most important part of role-playing games in our opinion. It's the
Mhm.
the coolest part of it, the thing that you get the most out of and gives you those memories that last forever. And the mission from God thing is really, it's just like there, when we started looking at content on YouTube, and this was prior to some of the channels that we've found by this point, but it was like, oh my gosh, these people are putting out such trash and bad advice to everyone, and like, this is, someone needs to do something
Yeah,
about
someone
this.
needs to fight
Someone
back.
say something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially against the, like, let's call it very, very cringe. Opinions, personality types, the anti-excellence, the anti-masculinity, anti any kind of quality, or anti-effort at all. Again, we've used this term several times, the race to the bottom mentality. That is in everything right now. Certainly everything like nerd culture related, but especially, turbo accelerationism, race to the bottom mindset in the TTRPG space. And, again, David Lynch, no, no, that is not the way. If you want to be immersed in your character, if you want to have an engaging experience, which you should want to, and if you haven't heard that, here's us hopefully putting into words something that you've been feeling implicitly. You don't have to apologize, and you should never apologize. No apologies, no compromises. That is the mission of God. Putting out our thoughts, our experiences, our takes on getting better, striving towards an immersive style of play and making your games actually good. Otherwise, like I made this point in one of our episodes, or maybe it was one of our live streams. Like, if you're not striving for something, if you're not trying to get better at something in some way, or more quickly, more easily accessing a certain state, or accessing getting immersed. If all you're doing is just eating Doritos with your friends and that's it, or that's primarily what you're doing, or if you're obsessively, again, memorizing the tables for all of the different feat prerequisites, and the basic attack bonus increases across level, across class. If you're obsessing over that, or you're not really obsessing about anything, then your mom was right, and you are wasting your time. You're wasting your life. If you want to just hang out with friends, that's fine. You can hang out with friends, but there's no wisdom to be gleaned from. I think I made this point. There's no such thing as system mastery to you. There's only memorization of rules. System mastery is not leaning on systems. So, very rambling answer, but that's the mission from God.
Yeah.
So how is it going? Have you convinced? Well, I know that some people reacted badly, but did you have the opposite reaction? Some people that
many.
Well, I mean,
and I don't mean those that already did what you're doing, like us, but people that started wondering if maybe you're right. And
Yeah,
maybe
we've had
try something.
a couple people. One in particular is a guy who he started a YouTube channel, and it's not just our channel who's convinced him of this. There's
Right.
also Shauner talking about games, and probably another couple of others. But this guy named C4 Crispy on YouTube um, kind of watched some of our videos, and he's been running games for 30 years, and was kind of like, have I just been paying lip service to being a role player this entire time? So he took his group and was like, do you guys want to try something new and like actually try and focus on character a little bit? And um, they've been doing that to great success.
Yeah.
And he's had really good experiences with it. His players have all, for the most part, been saying that this is like the best gaming experience that they've had, like ever. And so it's been massively encouraging to us watching that, because we were like, oh my God, we helped make someone's table better. That's awesome. But on the flip side of that, we do get a lot of satisfaction of people getting really mad at us. And it's just like, it's very fun for us.
Yeah.
So one
and-
question, because this was mentioned in our Discord. We were talking to one of our friends there, and he was saying that I agree with them, but they are excessively hostile, and that makes me not like their videos. I think you are obviously doing it on purpose, but
I mean,
it's
kind of like the hostility. The thing is, we're not doing this to make people mad. We know that they are going to get mad, but we believe everything we say, and
Right.
and we're like, the anger that we have and the hostility is real. We don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's very deserved.
Yeah,
Like, let's not, I wouldn't say we're like an old school or an old style per se. Like you said, Matt, everything we're saying, we believe everything that we say.
yeah.
And for too
And I think
long,
it's clear when we're doing things tongue in cheek as well.
Yeah, we're doing things tongue in cheek because some of these people, I don't know, absolutely deserve to be mocked.
Yeah,
and
we will not sacrifice our philosophy at the altar of niceness. That's just something we're never going to do.
Right.
Too much of the good has been sacrificed to this evil deity of being nice, and we're tired of it.
Yeah, too long have you not been able to say something is good and something is bad. If you want to disagree with me, that's fine.
Cool.
Again, we've said it before. We can't stop you, and we're not trying to stop you. If you just want to get together with friends or do whatever, or if you just want to play with miniatures and have a 6-hour combat session that lasts 4 rounds, you can do that. There's nothing we can do to stop you, and you're never going to be convinced by anything we have to say. But we're not going to sit here and pretend that isn't shit.
Yeah,
and it is.
And and it's like, I know Mr. Max gets very he's like shaking his head when we say these sorts of things, because he's right when he says that people want different things out of these games than we do.
Yeah,
and
we're not talking
to
people who want different things.
It's totally fine. Yeah, we're not talking to those people, except in the sense that we know that they get riled up by this, but we're really just trying to find, like, we want to put out an uncompromising message and vision on the stuff that we like and the way that we like to play, so that you cut through the signal and people who feel this way will find it. Like, we're much more interested in finding people who want what we want out of games, and we think that they will be attracted to this, and we're not willing to
we're not trying to convince anybody.
Nice. Yeah,
but there are people, because Matt and I both have very similar experiences. We were in very what would you say, bog standard to greater or lesser degrees groups, certainly groups that were not focused on the things that we talk about to the level that we talk about them, but there was a desire there. I want more of something. What is it? Oh, it's this is what I want more of, and I want to talk to other people about that. I want to get better at that. I want to make it easier. I want to build an environment and a gaming group that makes it easier. I don't want to do these other things. These other things are hindrances,
right,
or barriers to entry to what I want to do.
Right. And it's like in those groups, if you want to play in the style we are, it's like you sort of you can try to move in that direction, but it's like the role play happens in spite of those things.
Correct.
And it's like, I don't want to be doing this in spite of things. Like I just want to be doing this.
Yeah.
And the other thing is there's I know that like there are people who have accused us of being grifters. It's like we haven't made a dime off of this. In fact, we've spent money on this. Or that we are just trolls. And we are trolls. Like there is an element of that. But like I said, everything that we do when it's tongue in cheek.
Trolling is the style, not the content, right?
Right. Exactly. It's like when like someone got really angry at one of our videos because it was clickbait. And they found the video through Twitter where on the post I said, "This is clickbait." So I'm like, okay, I told you it was clickbait. You clicked it.
Yeah.
And then you got mad. Like, what? Come on.
And again, like this is again the very lame criticism of trying to gain any kind of success or reach in any capacity. You know, when you say clickbait, the assumption is this is a the content doesn't match, right? It's a
bait and switch
title is like. We talk exactly about what the thumbnail is about, or what the title is.
Right.
You know, we are putting the content in there, but
and when
like,
people
if you
are
think
like,
we're not going to we're going to purposely like cut ourselves off at the knees to not make an engaging thumbnail. Like, no, we want people to see this.
I know. And when people are like, "Oh, you're just doing this for views," it's like, yeah, you idiot. Of course, we want our stuff.
Why else would I be making
a video on YouTube? Like, like, of course we want it to be successful and to be viewed. Like this, that's something that bothers me quite a bit.
How dare you?
Yeah,
think people
exactly.
You.
It's
the
like
false midwit dichotomy.
It's like I've done the thing where the channel was previously it was like just a hobby for me, and my videos, it's all me, with stuff behind me, like it's terrible quality, where it was literally I'm just doing this as a creative outlet, and that's fine. But we are trying, like our YouTube channel, like as we go forward, we're trying to take it pretty seriously, and like we're growing fairly rapidly, which is great. I'm really excited about that. And it's like, we're trying. So don't get mad at us for trying.
Exactly.
It's the exact same mentality with the games, where it's like, oh, well, you're going to put an effort on that. It's like, fuck you. Of course I am.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to apologize for that. That actually makes me better than you.
Yeah, exactly. And you should feel shame if you were capable of it. For like embracing sedentary sloth.
Right.
And
not everybody has to do. Exactly. Not everybody has to, if you're making YouTube videos, it doesn't have to be like
you can do whatever you want.
You do whatever you want, but it's if you're going to, try and come at us for having some semblance of wanting to do things well and get better. And that's the thing, is like, we're also never, this is not like you have to be of a certain standard as a role player or as anything. It's just that, like, the idea is that, at least my philosophy, you should want excellence and try to get there.
Correct.
And excellence within your own capabilities. Like, we're all talented in different ways. Nobody is the same. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, but everybody can get a little bit better at things that they're not great at.
Yeah.
And you should want to do that. Like, I don't understand why there's hostility to that. You can try.
Yeah.
I was watching that video where you're talking about role-playing characters and trying to be the character and speaking first person. That's also a very important part of immersion, and many people like to talk with the character. Like, I don't know.
I never do that. I wouldn't cross my mind to say. I say I do this. I say I'm gonna say that, or just say it.
Just say it, just like you do in real life.
Exactly. I may say if I'm going to say something that's if I'm telling a story that happened in play, I'm not going to tell it again. So
Right.
I'll just tell him the story.
Yeah.
But I'm not going
Right.
to say my character does this or my character. That's too much words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the part. That's the thing that I actually don't understand. Why people feel uncomfortable with that? It's strange. I think some people feel uncomfortable. They say my character
Yeah.
does this, my dude does that.
I think
We
that
talked
it's
about it in that episode, right?
yeah,
Like,
it's like I think it's that people are afraid of feeling silly or looking silly. Like maybe they've been made fun of for these things in the past. I'm not going to like totally armchair psychologize on it, but it's just about discomfort, I think.
yeah.
Because it's like just say it. Like
There's no emotionality. You can distance yourself if you're putting in any sincerity. If you put in any sincerity or any like emotion, if you're just like straight narrating, my character says this and she's feeling very sad, very broken up as the memories of etc. whatever come to mind, rather than actually being in the moment and saying that. It's yeah. Yes, very accurate.
Connection problems.
Oh.
Yeah, I was out for a bit.
You're in now.
Yep,
I'm in
we're
now.
back.
Yes, I'm back.
Mm-hmm.
We are so back.
So back. But yeah, it's talking in third person puts distance between you and the scene, and you can you cannot you don't have to risk any kind either portraying or feeling any emotion if you neuter the drama and the emotionality of a scene by just narrating it like monotone. My character does this. My character is feeling this way.
Estou a trazer e não sei se é por causa do bebê estar aqui maluco atacar-me o computador.
The one more thing that I would say on the issue of like the hostility and whatnot is that I think we didn't start the fight either, because the hostility is definitely towards our style of gaming as being story gaming, as being acting, and that being this like inferior nerd theater kid thing where it's like, actually, like, I think you're objectively wrong on that fact, but it's like, I'm fine with you going and playing your game over there and doing this how you want to do that. And that is totally fine. But just don't tell me that it's better than the way that I do it.
Yeah.
When I know for a fact that it's not, because I've done both.
Right.
I've done both. And one is just significantly better.
Yeah. Self-evidently the case.
Yes.
And
self-evidently better.
Yeah. And if you're not, if you disagree, you're coping. Like that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I compare it with computer role-playing games that you can have like the first person. That's like the first-person shooter, like Vampire Bloodlines. Well, it wasn't very first-person because it was an old game, or Fallout, or and then you have the base turns. I hate base turn role-playing games.
Yeah.
Those old ones with
Okay,
like Diablo.
I think Liam rediscovered something.
Oh.
I don't think he knows about
new
about
identity.
Yeah.
He's not on Twitter very much.
Yeah, we someone a user named Thraxis pointed out in an attempt, I think, to initially insult us that I look like a ginger version of Frasier and Nick looks like young Steve Buscemi. And so we've embraced that. Yeah. Which is why we are on the thumbnail as Frasier and Steve Buscemi. And that guy who made that insult, he seems to actually be kind of a fan now, which is great.
Yeah.
He liked that we ran with it. So we like that when people can like
exactly
be in on the joke and like, if this is the other thing, it's like we can also be kind of hostile. And if you're funny and hostile back and you roll with it, like that's awesome. We love that. And we can disagree vehemently with you and be friends and everything. But it's the people who are just, like
right, like who are taking the bait, hook, line,
taking
the
bait and getting really mad. Like, that's who we're talking about.
Big lame.
Yeah.
Now this style seems to be, I don't know, it was never popular, of course, but right now it's difficult to find a place because there are the theater kids and they think that you are the theater kid.
I know.
That's not the same thing.
Yeah.
and then there's the OSR where most people are old and playing old school and playing basically the same thing years after years, and it's more gamist in style. It's basically combat and exploration of dungeons.
Right.
So it's difficult to find, and I think you are at least that's my perception of it. That at least on Twitter, that you are more in the OSR sphere for some reason. I don't know exactly.
We kind of
I think it fell into the community, like, or just talking with people who are in the OSR sphere. We definitely don't have any brand or official or implicit brand allegiance.
Yeah, and I think we kind of fell into it just because of honestly the YouTube algorithm started. The OSR people are at least having conversations and having conversations and kind of doing battle over these things, and we like that.
A lot of battle.
Yeah, a lot of battle.
Right.
Always.
I was about to say a word that I probably shouldn't on stream, but we do like that for the most part, and there's more interesting conversations happening here than certainly in like the standard 1D&D 5th edition space that we will dip into fights in that arena at some point, but right now we're having a lot of fun where we are.
Right. Yeah, it's just the like you said, I think it is primarily the algorithm that has sort of we've drifted into it because
both in terms of people who are watching our videos, but also just videos that get served to us to watch and think about.
Right, because I can't imagine there's much. Well, I know there's no real meaningful conversation going on in the mainstream D&D 5e space. And like I don't know how many. No doubt there are other subsections of the online RPG community. We just haven't drifted into their orbit yet.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about what else there is besides the mainstream, which is absolutely with no interest for me.
Yeah.
The mainstream. When I was buying mainstream games, I wouldn't even watch YouTube channels because there's nothing to see there. It's just
it's so vacuous. Yeah.
Well, I imagine there's probably, I have no idea, but I would imagine there's a subsection of Twitter that's still focused on like World of Darkness or storyteller games, or probably story games as well, or maybe I don't know, but we will keep preaching the message, wherever the signal goes.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if the story gamers will be interested in that. They have their own.
Again,
maybe some of them, but
we're not convincing anybody.
Yeah, they also don't like playing characters, which is ridiculous. Yeah, they talk about how the story, but they don't want to play characters.
Yeah,
they want to tell
what
stories.
Is wrong with everyone?
Very wrong, very lame and wrong.
There is much work to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I do hope that you are able to convince people and send us our way.
Good for us.
That's what
absolutely
we are doing. It's very difficult because some of the people in the OSR sometimes, they kind of like us, but that's just for about our attitude, but not our games. Yeah. So that you guys are cool, but I'm not going to buy.
We think you guys are cool. And your games are good.
Exactly.
But I'm gonna be running Wretched soon, and I think I am gonna go with Wretched Epoch as the setting. But I really like that book, and I like the wild dice and how it's used in different ways. I would not use it as an optional rule. It's like that's mandatory for me in terms of like getting the flavor of Wretched, in my opinion. But yeah, I really like all the stuff that you guys have posted, like from your blog posts, from the games that I have that you've produced. I'm also waiting on my copy of Wretched Bastards 2 2nd edition to arrive. I accidentally had it sent to my ex-wife's address instead of mine because I was still in my Google. So gotta wait for that to get sent my way. But it's I really like what you guys are doing. And it's been really cool to find, I think, kindred spirits.
Yeah, you absolutely have an identity a thematic goal, you're doing it really well. You're incredibly prolific.
Yeah,
You
the
know, I
output
think
is like
it's insane. Yeah. So well, certainly I need to take a lesson from you and just knuckle down every
as do
day
I.
and
Yeah.
finish some things we're working on. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I think that is the way, right? Have an identity, have a goal, and put it out there. Whether you're making game products, whether you're making YouTube videos, or you're doing Twitter posts, or a combination thereof, and um, yeah, do not get caught up in allegiances or
Yeah.
brand loyalties.
Right.
Agree where you agree and disagree where you disagree, and it
There are
is what
no
it
yeah.
is.
There's
You
no
know,
package deals, no guilt by
yes,
association, none of this. Like we are it's like this is more of like a general life philosophy thing, but it's like you judge everything and everyone on their own merits and nothing more.
right.
So are you guys thinking about publishing stuff, going into game design?
Yes.
We are, yeah. Nick has been writing our first product, and we can talk about this in more detail when we're offline, if you'd like. But
Mhm.
it's we are starting small. We have an idea for kind of a series of things that are smaller products, and we're in like the kind of very first phases of two kind of other larger projects that
Yes.
will be coming someday. But our goal, yes, is to be making role-playing games and role-playing game supplements, and hawking those on YouTube and getting
Absolutely.
everybody to smash like and subscribe and buy our merch and all of that.
Mhm.
We're trying to sell out as quickly as possible.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are almost on the 2 hour time, and so basically, unless you have something else to add.
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot.
Yeah,
This is a lot of fun.
this was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
We hit a lot of things. It was really awesome. We covered more ground than I thought we would, which is
Yeah.
fantastic.
And thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah. Big fans, big agree with what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
looking forward to what's next.
Yeah, we are also very interested in watching your channel, because obviously we agree on lots of things, and and it's
Yes.
good to have a channel that is pushing that concept into people's minds. So thank you for coming, and you guys.
Absolutely.
We had some audience today. It's not bad because of the time. Of course, for us it's the middle of the afternoon, but
Yeah.
in the US it's still early.
Yes.
So
Okay,
thank
so
you everybody for joining and watching, and share the video. So subscribe to the Black Lodge if you haven't yet.
Absolutely.
I think
We would love
I think
that.
some of the people in the audience are
Yes.
your audience. I think.
Oh,
I
cool.
don't know all
Well,
the
if
names.
you,
I'm not
you
sure.
guys subscribe to the Red Room, please.
Yes. Subscribe to both of us.
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome. Thank you for coming to the Red Room, and everybody. Thank you for watching,
Take
and
care.
bye bye for today.
We're out.